Welcome back to my channel. My name is Juan, this is Sheinix, and in this channel I teach you everything about cryptocurrencies and DeFi. In this video we are going to continue with the DeFi 101 series, and in this particular session we are going to look at AMM Uniswap version 2 and version 3. So let's get started. Okay, for this session the agenda is focus on the automated market maker Uniswap, and we're gonna see a little bit of history behind how started and where are we at the moment. We are gonna see Uniswap V3, just a review on what we saw on the DeFi 101 introductory session, and then we are gonna fully focus on Uniswap V3, and we are gonna look at a couple of really big features that belong to this version, which are concentrated liquidity, active liquidity, range orders, NFT, LP tokens. So a little bit of history behind Uniswap. It started in November 2018. The version 1 was released, and it was just a proof of work that this idea of trading against a smart contract and not a group of people could work. It's basically developed by Hayden Adams, the founder of Uniswap, who was inspired by Vitalik Buterin on a blog post where he explained how this constant product market maker formula could be used to create a decentralized exchange. So Hayden Adams took that idea and created Uniswap on November 2018. It was released. Fast forward to May 2020, they released the second version of Uniswap, one of the most forked protocols in whole DeFi. And the idea behind the V2 was that now you could trade against any ERC20. So any ERC20 could be swapped by any ERC20 besides it, that was already working for the V1 version. And of course, behind there is the idea of a liquidity provider where you provide liquidity to these pools, to these trading pools, and you get the LP tokens, which are tokens that function as a receipt that you deposit some liquidity on these pools, so then you can get a share of the fees generated on the tradings on that pool. Then between the V2 and the V3 we have the Uni airdrop, the decentralization of the governance of this protocol. It was a huge airdrop, and on May 2021 they released the version 3, and it's a whole set of new features that are focused on the capital efficiency, making all that liquidity that is sit on the smart contract the most efficient liquidity possible. One of the differences between the liquidity provider tokens is that on the V2 we have ERC20 tokens, and on the V3 they are NFTs, and we are gonna talk about that on this session, so don't worry too much. And then just for you to be aware, in June 2023 they announced Uniswap V4, which is kind of open up. So they want to create different hooks and custom pools, so you can add your own logic to these pools and start customizing the pools and creating different products on top. It's kind of working as an SDK. So these liquidity pools now, they can be transformed in whatever developers decide to be. And also in July 2023 they announced Uniswap X, which is another iteration on the protocol, that it works as an aggregator or multi-chain, gas-free, and many other features that we are not gonna get into this particular session. Another interesting thing is that because Uniswap V2 was one of the most forked protocols, and it had a lot of drama behind the liquidity and different exchanges trying to absorb liquidity from V2 during the DeFi summer, they decide on V3 and V4 to launch it with the business source license 1.1, which means that the code could be copied and forked but cannot be used for commercial use or business use. So basically they are guarding themselves for a couple of years, and they're just saving up their innovation and defending legally against all of these forks and different protocols trying to steal, right, the liquidity from Uniswap. So that is quite curious. And let's go and do a quick review on Uniswap V2. And if you want to know more about V2 and introduction to AMMs, you can watch the videos on the DeFi intro session that I'm gonna link on the description of this video. So basically, Uniswap V2 is a decentralized exchange of the type AMM. Remember that we have two types. We have order books and AMMs, which are quite different between each other, and we are focusing on this innovation, which is AMMs. And again, let's do the simple example of the roles that you can have on an AMM. You can have a liquidity provider and you can have a trader. A liquidity provider adds liquidity to the ETH DAI pool. In return, he gets a percentage of the pool's fees on each of the ETH DAI swaps. Perfect, very simple. And on the other side, you have the trader that wants to swap the ETH for DAI, and the liquidity needed for that trade comes from the ETH DAI pool, and the trader will pay a fee that will get distributed along the pool's liquidity providers, who has these LP tokens, these shares of the pool. And again, the price of the asset is given by the amount of coins we want to swap and the available amount on that pool. The whole innovation around this is summarized in this constant product market maker formula, which is X times Y equals K, being K a constant and X the amount of token A and Y the amount of token B. This is exactly the same as I explained before, but in a different way. And let's focus on the constant product market maker formula with this example that we already seen on the DeFi session, but I'm gonna repeat it because this is the base of how AMM works, right? So you have the trader that wants to swap 3 tokens A for 1 token B because that's the price. On the pool, we know that the trades, each trade in the pool change the balance of the reserves of those 2 tokens, resulting in a new price. What does this mean? It means that the pool has this price curve defined by the constant product market maker formula, X times Y equal K, and the price is gonna move along this curve. And on the Y-axis you have the amount of token B, and on the X-axis you have the amount of token A. So on this specific trade, we can see that the pools start here with 1,200 of token A and 400 of token B. So the price, if you divide those, the price is 3. Now, because we are swapping, and you have to think about every swap on an AMM as input 1 token and extracting another token, right? So it's adding to a bag of token and removing another token from that bag. So then you add 3 tokens A plus the fee. So if we move along the X axis, we will move to the right and we will move downwards on the Y axis in the amount of token B, and we are moving, of course, always through the price curve. So the price starts here and ends in this point where we get the token B and we added 3 tokens A. So the pools end in 1,203.03 divided by 399, and this is the next price, 3.015. And then trades change the balance of reserves, resulting in a new price. This is very important, and this is the main idea that you have to understand for now getting into V3, which takes this concept and tries to apply different modifications to make it more efficient. Let's go through the main features of Uniswap V3. Concentrated liquidity, active liquidity, range orders, NFT LP tokens, flexible fees, and advanced oracles. We are gonna see 4 of these advanced oracles, probably not much on this session. So let's start with concentrated liquidity. In Uniswap V2, liquidity is distributed evenly along the price curve, but majority of trades occur on certain price range. On V3, and this is the main idea, we can concentrate capital within custom price ranges, providing greater amounts of liquidity at desired prices. LPs construct individualized price curves that reflects their own preference. And when the price goes out of the provided range, the liquidity providers stop earning fees. And I'm gonna share this video here because I think it's really good to understand this concept. Here we have the price curve, so you can provide liquidity to this particular range, for example, or move your liquidity between different ranges, and this will make a little bit more efficient because there is more liquidity on a concentrated range. And here you can see this is case, for example, for a stable coin where you provide different ranges, and that is the main idea. So V3 multiplies the efficiency by 4000x compared to V2. That's what they claim. Less price slippage on high liquidity zones and better fees on low liquidity zones. And by concentrating the liquidity, the LPs can provide the same liquidity depth as V2 within a specific price range while putting far less capital at risk. And this can be explained with this video again, where we can see the price range, and then here you can see in the y-axis the liquidity depth, and on the x-axis the price, and that goes from 0 to infinity. And then this price here should be like the market price, and you can see how the depth of the liquidity distributes along the different prices. So this is another way of seeing a concentrated liquidity in a specific range of the curve. So you can see here that it can vary depending on multiple factors, but basically how LPs provide liquidity. And the ideal situation probably is a perfect distributed graph where the market price has the most liquidity, and then as you move further from the market price you have less and less liquidity. So this is what we mean by less price slippage on high liquidity zones. So we have at market price and close to market price we have better liquidity, more depth, so we will have less price slippage. We can trade more against this pool, more amount, and we won't be affected too much. And when we say better fees on low liquidity zones, it means that if for some reason you as a liquidity provided liquidity on these regions where there is not much activity, not much trades really, so there's less competition for the fees. So let's say the price suddenly moved to this place, right? So that means that if you were providing liquidity on this range, you will get a better share of the fees that if the price is still ranging in this zone, because here a lot of people are adding liquidity, and of course there's more competition for the fees. That's the main idea behind concentrated liquidity. Now, active liquidity is kind of the same concept, but adds one more iteration to this. So if market prices move outside the specific price range, the liquidity is effectively removed from the pool and is no longer earning fees. The pool converts all LPs liquidity to the less valuable of the two assets, and this is the main idea behind. So again, a video to explain it much better than I can explain it. You can see here on this example where we have DAI USDC, and we provided this range, and that is the market price at the moment. So we have 50-50 DAI USDC, and then what happens is that the price starts moving along the price curve, and for now is between our range, our provided range, but as soon as the market price goes outside of the range, you can see how our liquidity position now is transformed to the less valuable of the two assets. In this case, DAI is trading at 1.02 per each USDC, so all the position is transformed to USDC. And now if we are on the other part of the range, you can see that each DAI now is trading at 0.98 USDC, so USDC is more expensive. So we have our position 100% on DAI, and that is active liquidity. When the price starts going back again on range, we start earning fees again, and we have our position obviously distribute based on the position on the curve. Now let's move to range orders, which uses the active liquidity to create a specific case for orders. So we can also deposit one token in custom price range above or below current market price. So there is a case where you can deposit only one token, but it needs to provide a range that is above or below market price. And if market price enters to the provided range, the pool starts to swap our tokens while earning swap fees. That is how it works. And what happens is depositing to a narrow range feels similar to a traditional limit order. And let's see an example to fully understand this. On this example, we have a range order at 1.001 to 1.002 DAI USDC. So I start my position of 1 million DAI and I say I'm gonna provide liquidity to this pool between 1001 to 1002. That is a very narrow range if you think about it. And let's say that the price it is trading below 1001. So let's pretend the price is here and I provide 1 million DAI to this narrow price range. So what happens is that when the price starts to move towards 1.002, you will start earning fees on this very narrow range. So actually the fees could be not even fees really, because it's very narrow, but let's say that it is trading at this range. So you will start earning fees and your liquidity and your position will be distributed between the two tokens. But as soon as we move out on the other side to the price of 1.002 and above, then your position will be ended. You will have your position converted to the token of the less value, and in this case is USDC. So you traded 1 million DAI to 1 million USDC plus the fees that you collected during the time the price was on your provided range. So this is another way of trading in a decentralized exchange, providing liquidity and swapping tokens at the price that you would like. Anyway, I think this is an idea behind to create a product on top of that. I'm not sure if there's many people doing this on Uniswap, to be honest, but I think the main idea is that you could probably create a product on top of this, but I am not entirely sure. So let's move now to another feature, which is just a byproduct of what we were talking about, not really a feature, but this is how an NFT looks on Uniswap of your liquidity provider position. And let's talk a little bit about why is an NFT now and why it was an ERC20 before. On B2, liquidity positions are ERC20 tokens, so they are fungible tokens similar to any other coin. And the reason behind is because they are fungible is because all liquidity positions are the same type. They provide liquidity along the price curve, so you provide liquidity in the whole price curve. There's no selection of a portion of the price curve. On B3, liquidity positions are now represented as NFT, and the reason is because each position is unique, so it's a range inside the price curve, and B3 means a unique token representing the personalized range the LP choose. Again, this is the main difference, and there's not much about that, you know. And now I'm gonna talk a little bit about flexible fees because I think it's interesting. So on B2 we only have one choice. We have 0.3% fee for each swap. On B3 there's 3 available fee tiers to choose from, and actually there is 4 for some pairs. There's another 0.01%. But what I like about this is not that there is just a fee, is that another way of breaking down the liquidity and providing more routes for each trade. And what I mean by that is that there is a concept called the router in the AMMs, which is the component of the AMMs that tries to find the best way to do your trade. So it tries to go to the different pools and see if you, for example, break your trade and you have 40% of the liquidity on one pool and the other 60 in another pool, it will be more efficient for you. So that's the objective of the router. I'm gonna explain it with this particular example. So let's see here. I have 60 million DAI that I want to trade for 60 million USDC, and the router is intelligent enough to understand that probably 90% of the money of that trade can go to the cheapest pool, DAI USDC, that pays 0.01%. But it's saying, hey, take into account that it is cheaper if we take 10% of that money and we go to the 0.05% pool. Even if you pay more fees for that 10%, still is a better trade if we go 100% on the DAI USDC 0.01%. So this is smart enough to do that, and this is very basic and simple example, and you can see how this can be more complex over time. So now I want to trade 90 million DAI, and now I have a little bit of a price impact, so I will get 89 million USDC. And if you see, the router now is doing 65% to the DAI USDC 0.01%, 30% to the DAI USDC 0.05%, and now it's saying, hey, let's take it 5% and trade it for frax at 0.05% and frax to USDC 0.05%. So this is very interesting, and the router can get crazy and crazier. And in this case, I want to do the opposite. I want to buy 90 million DAI with USDC, and it just can provide me a good trade, really, because now I have a price impact of almost 40%, and I'm paying 148 million USDC for 90 million DAI. This doesn't make any sense. And you see, the router is trying to pull liquidity from all different sources. It can go like 10%, 0.3 pool, 5% to the USDC Ethereum pool, and then swapping for DAI. So it's trying to break liquidity and pulling from everywhere that it can, but basically cannot provide a better trade. So again, this is an interesting way of seeing the fee tiers on Uniswap V3, that it is also used for pulling liquidity on the router. And this is basically what I wanted to talk on this session about Uniswap V3. I hope you understand. I hope you have an idea of what Uniswap V3 is. If you want to play around with the protocol, I'm gonna leave a link on the description. And I hope you like the video. Give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. I'll see you next time.